People thought he was just another wealthy bachelor online, the kind of man every girl dreams of. He was tall, handsome with glowing dark skin, generous, and always ready to spoil women with money and gifts. But behind that charming smile hid a darkness too terrifying to imagine. Every chat, every shopping spree, every drink was a carefully laid trap. And once the girls stepped into his house, they never stepped out again. He haunted in silence. But when one woman, Chiamaka Okoro, refused to be bought, his obsession with her unlocked a nightmare that shook the city to its core. In the heart of Lagos, there lived a man everyone admired, Dr. Obinna Nwosu. To the world, he was a philanthropist. The charming businessman who donated to churches, sponsored scholarships, and fed the poor every Christmas. People called him the cheerful giver. To the world, he was a saint. But behind his immaculate agbada and polished smile, Obinna hid a darkness no one dared to imagine. His empire was not built on oil or real estate or imports as people believed. His true wealth flowed from blood, human blood, from the flesh of young women whose lives he lured, caged, cut, and sold to the highest bidder. Social media was his hunting ground. Every day, young women scrolled their phones, searching for opportunities, romance, or quick money. And Obina knew exactly what bait to use. For some, it was jewelry, perfumes, and the newest iPhones. For others, it was luxury shopping trips, vacations abroad, or promises of money that could change their lives. And when they accepted his offers, he played the perfect gentleman. He invited them to dinner at his mansion, charmed them with his wealth, and offered them a drink. But every meal, every glass he served was already laced with sedatives. Minutes later, their bodies would collapse, limp, helpless, and silent. That was when Obinna dropped the mask. He picked them up and carried them to the boys' quarters behind his mansion, where soundproof walls concealed the cries of the doomed. There he butchered them with surgical precision, packaging every organ to meet the orders of clients who paid handsomely for human flesh. It was business, cold, methodical, profitable. And for years, it was perfect. Then came Chiamaka Okoro. They first met online. Chiamaka, a smart and spirited mass communication undergraduate at the University of Lagos, had caught his attention with her sharp wit and natural beauty. He started the way he always did, with late night chats, sweet compliments, and promises. Soon, he began to send offers of money, designer handbags, and an easy, glamorous life if only she would come and see him. But Chiamaka wasn't like the others. Raised in a strict Christian home in Enugu, she had learned early that not everything glittering was gold. She refused his gifts, turned down his money, and rejected every invitation to his house. To Obinna, it was unthinkable. No girl had ever said no to him, and the timing couldn't have been worse. Obinna had a major delivery due that week. A client overseas was waiting for fresh meat, but because Chiamaka refused him, his careful schedule collapsed. The victim he had banked on never arrived. His clients grew restless, furious that their expensive order had not been met. For the first time in years, Obina's flawless system failed, and it was all because of Chiamaka. What began as irritation soon transformed into obsession. Chiamaka wasn't just another target anymore. She was a challenge. The one girl who had disrupted his flawless system, and so he swore she would be his. No matter how long it took, no matter what it cost. Obinna Nwosu was furious. The failed delivery because of Chiamaka had cost him millions. His clients didn't care about excuses. They wanted their orders on time. That night, he sat alone in his study, swirling a glass of brandy. The chandelier above glowed warm, but his face was cold, hard. One mistake had shaken the empire he built with blood, and one name echoed in his mind like a curse: Chiamaka. Never again, he whispered to himself. I will never lose money because of a woman again. From that moment, Obinna changed his system. He no longer relied on just one girl at a time. He began luring many through fake job offers abroad, modeling contracts, scholarships, even church sponsorships. His methods had not failed him before. Now he used them with ruthless precision. Every girl who fell for the bait was invited to his mansion. Every girl was served a drink laced with sedatives. Every girl ended up in the boys' quarters, chained like an animal. Some cried, some begged, some prayed. Obinna never listened. They were not people anymore. They were stock. Whenever a new order came from his clients, Obinna would walk into the boys' quarters, pick two or three depending on the demand, and end their lives. His knife worked with the precision of a surgeon. Organs were packaged into nylon bags, frozen, and shipped out. And while the world praised him as a cheerful giver, in his home he was a butcher. One weekend, Obinna returned to his hometown, Nsukka, where people worshipped him as a benefactor. He handed out bundles of cash. He paid school fees. He built boreholes for the community. Everywhere he walked, people called blessings on his head. To them, he smelled like a savior. That was when a pregnant woman named Ngozi Eze approached him. Her face was tired, her wrapper worn. She carried the weight of her unborn child and the sorrows of two others left at home. Dr. Nwosu, she pleaded, tears shining in her eyes. My husband abandoned me. I have nothing. Please help me and my children. Obinna placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder, his voice soft, dripping with false kindness. Ngozi, you will not suffer any more. Come with me to Lagos. I'll give you money, find you good work, and your children will never lack again. Her eyes lit up with hope. She thanked him again and again, blessing his name as she agreed to follow him. But when they arrived in Lagos, everything changed. Instead of giving her money or a job, Obinna dragged her into the boys' quarters and tied her hands. Her shock turned to terror. Please, let me go. My children are waiting. I'm pregnant. I beg you. She screamed until her voice broke. But Obinna only smiled coldly, shut the door, and walked away. For days, Ngozi cried. She screamed, prayed, and cursed him. The other captives watched with hollow eyes. To them, she was just another lamb trapped in the slaughterhouse. But Ngozi refused to keep silent. Day and night, her voice pierced the air like a knife. Obinna, God will punish you. The blood of these women will rise against you. You will suffer for your sins. You will never escape. Her words filled the quarters with fear. Even the other captives trembled. Obinna hated it. He hated being reminded of their humanity. He hated the noise, the tears, the prayers. One night, he stormed into the quarters. His footsteps echoed like a death march. The women froze. Ngozi lifted her swollen face, tears running down her cheeks. Her voice shook, but she spoke boldly. Dr. Nwosu, you may kill me, but God's judgment will find you. Obinna's face hardened. Without hesitation, he silenced her forever. Her final curse hung in the air like smoke. The other captives turned pale with fear. They understood now that none of them would live alive. Obinna carved her body with cold precision. Every part was packaged neatly into nylon bags, ready for his clients. Another order fulfilled. Another soul erased. That night, While washing his hands, Obinna muttered to himself, his voice low and dark, Chiamaka Okoro, you ruined one order for me, but you'll be my finest delivery. I will make you trust me. And when you finally fall, I'll watch you beg for your life before I cut you piece by piece. Then he laughed, a cruel, hollow laugh that echoed through the empty mansion. Obinna Nwosu could not rest. Ngozi's death had silenced his client's anger for a while, but his thoughts were chained to only one name, Chiamaka. She was the only woman who had ever rejected him, the only one who had spoiled his plans, the only one who dared to resist. Obinna's obsession grew sharper with every passing day. At night, he sat in his study, replaying their chats. Her firm no echoed louder than a scream. Her face haunted him more than the curses of the women he had butchered. She wasn't just a target anymore. She was a challenge, a prize he needed to conquer. So he began a new game. He called her. He texted her. He filled her inbox with sweet words and promises. Chiamaka, I can't stop thinking about you, he wrote. You're different. You're special. Please give me a chance. At first, she resisted. Her replies were short, cautious. Sir, I'm not interested. Please, stop sending me money. I don't want any gifts. But Obinna was patient, patient like a hunter waiting in the bush for his prey. He sent flowers. He sent perfumes. He even sent envelopes of money through dispatch riders. Each one returned untouched. Her rejection only deepened his hunger. He told himself, she will bend, she must. Meanwhile, Chiamaka had her own battles. Life on campus was not easy. She was in her final year at the University of Lagos, juggling projects, lectures, and side hustles to survive. Her parents in Enugu sent what they could, but times were hard. She shared a small off campus apartment with her two friends, Adayeze and Ngozi. The three young women were inseparable, their laughter often filling the room despite the struggles they faced. But Adayeze and Ngozi could not understand Chiamaka's stubbornness. Babe, you dey craze? Adayeze laughed one night, tossing her wig onto the bed. That man is fine, rich, and serious about you. Do you know how many girls are praying for this kind of opportunity? Ngozi nodded, eyes wide with excitement. Chiamaka, stop forming hard girl. Look at how he treated us the other day when we met him at the restaurant. He gave us money without blinking. Men, that man is a king. Chiamaka only shook her head. Her heart was heavy. I'm not impressed by money, Ada. Not every man who flashes cash means well. I want something real, not lies and fake promises. Her friends exchanged glances, unable to understand her stubbornness. But Obinna was relentless. Day after day, his calls flooded her phone. Sometimes his voice was gentle, almost pleading. Other times, he sounded hurt, as though she was the one doing him wrong. Chiamaka, why do you treat me like this? Don't you see I love you? I can give you the world if you just let me. She began to lower her guard, not because she wanted him, but because of the constant pressure. Her friends teased her. Her phone buzzed endlessly. And sometimes, in her quiet moments, she wondered if maybe, just maybe, he was truly different. Finally, after much persuasion, Chiamaka agreed to see him again, but on one condition. If you really want to see me, she told him firmly, come to my school, not your house, not anywhere private, my school. Obinna smiled to himself when he heard that. She was sharp, but he was patient. Of course, he said quickly, anywhere you want. I just want to know you better. The next day, he drove his black SUV to her campus. He dressed immaculately in a tailored suit, stepping out with the confidence of a king. They met at a restaurant just outside the university gate. Obinna arrived first. He sat at a corner table, sipping his drink, rehearsing his charm. When Chiamaka finally walked in, his chest tightened, not with love, but with hunger. She greeted him politely, her smile cautious. He complimented her beauty, his words smooth like silk. You look stunning, Chiamaka, he said. She blushed slightly but kept her guard. They ate, they talked. Obinna played the role of the perfect gentleman, listening, laughing, nodding in all the right places. But behind his smile, his mind whispered, Eat, Chiamaka. Enjoy this meal. Soon you'll be nothing more than meat for my clients. Then, as though struck by an idea, Obinna leaned closer. Chiamaka, if I'm truly serious about you, shouldn't I know your friends, the people closest to you? Call them. Let's all meet. I want to show you I'm genuine. Chiamaka was surprised. Few men ever asked to meet a girl's friend so soon, but his words sounded reasonable. She pulled out her phone and called Adaeze and Ngozi. Within the hour, they arrived at the restaurant, giggling with excitement. The moment they saw Obinna, his fine clothes, his aura of wealth, they were dazzled. He welcomed them warmly, insisting they order anything they wanted. They didn't hold back. Soon, the table was filled with plates, laughter, and chatter. Obinna sat back, watching them like a hunter surrounded by birds. When the meal was done, he pulled out bundles of cash and handed them to Adaeze and Ngozi. Their faces lit up with delight as they accepted without hesitation. Talk to your friend, he told them with a gentle smile. Convince her to give me a chance. I promise you, I'm serious. The girls nodded eagerly, already won over. Finally, he slid an envelope of money toward Chiamaka, but she shook her head firmly. No, thank you, she said. I don't need your money. Obinna's smile didn't falter, but inside his obsession deepened. Her resistance was fuel, and he swore again. Chiamaka will be mine. Back at the hostel that night, Adaeze and Ngozi could barely contain their excitement. Chiamaka, your head no, correct? Adaeze shouted, tossing her handbag on the bed. That man is fine, rich, generous, chai. Do you know how many girls they beg God for this kind of opportunity? My sister, you better open your eyes. Ngozi nodded quickly, her face glowing with mischief. Babes, don't waste time. Obinna is different. He's kind, handsome, and clearly serious about you. Look at the way he treated us today. He even gave us money without stress. That's not normal, oh. That's destiny. Chiamaka sat quietly, shaking her head. Her heart was heavy. I'm not impressed by money, Ada. Not every man who throws cash around means well. I want something real, something honest. Her friends exchanged glances. To them, she was wasting her chance. But Obinna was relentless, day after day. His calls flooded her phone. He sent flowers to her department, hampers to her hostel, perfumes and jewelry through dispatch riders. Every time, Chiamaka refused, and every time, Adaeze and Ngozi pressed harder. Babes, stop being difficult, Ngozi whispered one evening. This guy truly loves you. At least give him a chance. Their voices echoed in her mind. Coupled with Obinna's sweet tone, his constant affection, his patience, it was like water dripping on stone. Slowly, her resistance began to weaken. Finally, after weeks of pressure, Chiamaka agreed to visit him. Obinna could hardly believe his luck. At last, his patience was about to pay off. They fixed a date. Chiamaka dressed simply but elegantly. Her innocence glowed in her appearance. She packed a small handbag and made her way to the bus station. Obinna had insisted she shouldn't bother finding his house. He would pick her up personally. When she arrived at the station, she pulled out her phone to call him. But just as he picked up, her phone buzzed with another call. It was Ngozi. Her friend's voice was urgent, almost panicked. Chiamaka, where are you? There's a surprise test in 30 minutes. The lecturer is already in class. If you miss it, you fail the course. Chiamaka froze. The timing couldn't have been worse. She looked at the buses lined up, then back at her phone. Duty called. Without hesitation, she boarded the next bus back to campus. Meanwhile, Obinna was speeding towards the bus station in his black SUV, smiling at the thought of Chiamaka finally trapped in his mansion. His phone rang. Where are you, my love? I'm close. Her reply shattered his mood. Obinna, I'm so sorry. I just got an urgent call. There's a surprise test. I need to go back now. Please don't bother coming. For a moment, Obinna's face darkened with rage. He gripped the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. This girl is spoiling my plans, he muttered under his breath. But when he answered, his voice was calm. It's okay, my dear. Go and write your test. We'll see another time. He ended the call with a fake smile, but inside, his blood boiled. In his mind, he had already pictured Chiamaka chained in his boys' quarters, begging for her life. Now, for the second time, fate had mocked him. Fine, he whispered to himself. You escaped again, but the day I catch you, your death will be slow, excruciating. That night, Chiamaka called him back, her voice soft, apologetic. Obinna, I'm sorry for today. Can we meet tomorrow instead? Obinna's anger melted into obsession. Of course, my love. Tomorrow you'll be mine at last. The next morning, Chiamaka set out again. This time, nothing would interrupt her. She arrived at the station, and there he was, waiting in his black SUV, dressed in a crisp white shirt, his smile charming as ever. He stepped out, opened the door for her like a gentleman, and she climbed in. As they drove, Obinna watched her from the corner of his eye. Every smile she gave, every word she spoke, only fueled his hunger. Soon, they pulled into his mansion, a sprawling estate that stood like a fortress in Lekki. Chiamaka gasped softly. Your house. It's beautiful. Obinna smirked. Thank you, my dear. It's all yours to enjoy. But just as he was about to put his plan in motion, his phone rang. A client was on the line. An urgent delivery. The money was too good to ignore. His jaw tightened in frustration, but business always came first. He forced a smile. Chiamaka, I need to step out for something urgent. Don't worry. Make yourself comfortable. The house is yours until I return tomorrow morning. Chiamaka nodded politely, though a flicker of unease crossed her face. Obinna grabbed his keys and stormed out. As he drove away, he muttered under his breath, Don't worry, Chiamaka. Tomorrow, your nightmare begins. The mansion was too quiet. Chiamaka sat on the velvet couch, her handbag still on her lap. The silence pressed against her ears like a weight. She tried to distract herself by admiring the house. The tall chandeliers glittered above her. The polished marble floor reflected her sandals. Expensive paintings lined the walls, each one more extravagant than the last. But no matter how beautiful the house was, something felt wrong. The air was heavy, too heavy. She stood up and wandered through the rooms. Wide hallways, golden curtains, carved furniture that smelled of wealth. But beneath it all was another smell. Something faint, something foul. At first, she thought it was her imagination. But then she heard it, a sound, soft, muffled, almost like a whimper. Her heart skipped. She froze. The sound came again, clearer this time. A cry. Her breath caught. It was coming from outside, behind the mansion. Step by step, she followed the sound. Her sandals tapped softly against the marble, then against the tiled veranda, and finally onto the paved compound. The cries grew louder as she approached the boys' quarters at the back. Her stomach churned. A sickening stench hung in the air, a mix of blood and rot. Her hand trembled as she covered her nose. Every instinct told her to run back inside, to wait for Obinna to return, to mind her business. But something deeper pushed her forward. She reached the door of the boys' quarters. It was locked, but the cries, they were unmistakable now. Help us, please. Her chest tightened. Her hands shook as she looked around. Lying against the wall was an old, rusty iron rod. She grabbed it and jammed it into the lock. Her arms ached, her palms burned, but she kept forcing it until, click, the lock gave way. The door creaked open. Chiamaka's eyes widened. Her breath caught in her throat. Inside the dimly lit room lay a nightmare. Blood-stained tools scattered across the floor, plastic sheets dripping with red, nylon bags stacked in a corner, some leaking dark liquid, and in the shadows, women, tired, bruised, weak, some barely conscious, some staring blankly at the wall like ghosts. The stench was unbearable. Her stomach twisted. Then one of the women lifted her head. Her voice cracked as she screamed with the last of her strength. Help us, please, help us. Chiamaka staggered back, almost fainting. Her hands flew to her mouth. Her legs felt like water. But something stronger than fear rose inside her. Compassion. She rushed to the first woman and untied her hands. Then another, then another. The women clung to her, sobbing, whispering desperate thanks. Please, don't leave us. He kills us one by one. You are our only hope. Chiamaka's fingers trembled as she pulled out her phone. Her voice cracked as she dialed the police. Please, you need to come quickly. It's urgent. Here's the address. Minutes later, the night was shattered by the sound of sirens. A convoy of police vehicles stormed into the compound. Officers jumped out, guns raised, voices barking orders. They rushed into the quarters, helping the freed women into vans, wrapping them in blankets, holding them as they wept. The women clung to Chiamaka, tears streaming down their faces. Thank you. Thank you for saving us, one whispered. A senior officer turned to her. You've done more than enough tonight, but we need your help for one last thing. If he returns, we need him to confess in your presence. With your cooperation, we can lock him away forever. Can you do it? Chiamaka hesitated. Fear surged through her veins, but then she nodded. I'll do it. He must pay for what he's done. The mansion fell silent again. The police hid in the shadows, waiting. Chiamaka sat on the couch, her palms damp, her heart racing. Every tick of the wall clock sounded like thunder. And then the sound of a car pulling into the driveway shattered the stillness. Obinna had returned. The black SUV rolled into the compound. Chiamaka's throat tightened. Her palms sweated. Her whole body trembled, but she forced herself to stay seated on the couch, exactly as the police had instructed. Outside, Obinna stepped out of the car with a wide grin. His briefcase swung in his hand, payment for the latest delivery. He had no idea his kingdom of silence was about to collapse. The moment he opened the door, his eyes fell on Chiamaka. She was sitting calmly, though her heart was pounding. Obinna's smile widened. My love, you waited for me. Chiamaka forced a weak smile. Yes, I wanted to talk to you. He dropped his briefcase and walked toward her. His cologne filled the air, sharp, expensive, suffocating. She wanted to scream, to run, but she stayed still. Behind the walls, hidden officers aimed their rifles, their fingers tight on triggers. Obinna sat beside her, his eyes burning with obsession. He reached for her hand. Chiamaka, I knew you'd come back to me. You see, you're not like the others. You're special, and soon you'll be mine forever. Her stomach turned, but she forced her voice steady. Obinna, what do you mean, the others? He chuckled darkly. The others were weak. They served their purpose. But you, he leaned closer, whispering, you're different. I'll savor you slowly, piece by piece. Her heart pounded like a drum, but she needed him to say more. She swallowed hard. Obinna, what have you done to them? He laughed. The sound was low, chilling, inhuman. What have I done? I turned them into wealth. Their flesh paid for my cars, my houses, my empire. And the fools in this city call me a philanthropist. He threw his head back and laughed again. Their screams built my fortune. Their blood bought my respect. And nobody can stop me except me. A voice thundered. The living room exploded with movement. Armed officers stormed in from every corner, rifles aimed directly at him. Freeze! The commander barked. Obinna Nwosu, you are under arrest for murder, human trafficking, and organ harvesting. Drop to your knees now. Obinna's eyes widened. For the first time, fear flickered across his face. He looked at Chiamaka. Betrayal twisted his features into rage. You, you set me up. Chiamaka's voice shook, but her eyes were steady. You destroyed too many lives, Obinna. It ends tonight. The officers closed in, forcing him to the ground. But Obinna was not finished. He roared, struggling against their grip. You can't cage me. Do you know who I am? My clients will kill all of you. I'll be out before morning. The officer struck him down, slapping cuffs on his wrists, pressing his face into the polished marble floor. His screams echoed through the mansion, but they no longer carried power. For once, the butcher was the one in chains. Chiamaka sat trembling on the couch, tears streaming down her face. Her body shook violently, but in her heart, a strange calm grew. She had stared into the eyes of evil. She had walked through a house of death, and she had survived. But outside, in the shadows of Lagos, Obinna's words lingered. His clients, powerful people who had fed on his darkness, people who would not sit quietly while their butcher rotted in a cell. This was not the end. It was only the beginning. Philanthropist Dr. Obinna Nwosu arrested for murder and human trafficking. The headline flashed across televisions, radio stations, and phones throughout Nigeria. The people who once called him the cheerful giver now stared in disbelief. How? Impossible. That man paid my child's school fees. Crowds gathered outside his mansion, shouting, cursing, some even weeping in confusion. But the evidence was undeniable. The boys' quarters had been raided, the freed women testified. Photographs of body parts, surgical tools, and blood-stained walls leaked online. The city was shaken to its core.